Hello and welcome to Nithrania YouTube channel. You're watching another episode of the Game in a Nutshell series designed for explaining the board game rules. My name is Branislav Berec, and in this video we're going to learn how to play Oath, designed by Cole Worley and published by Leader Games. Now, unlike all my other instructional videos, in this one I'm not going to cover the setup process, because if this is your first game, I highly recommend to start with a deck of cards marked as Packet A and follow the instructions there. It will beautifully guide you through that setup process. On the other hand, at the end of the game you will have to write your Chronicle and pack the game in a very specific way, and for that you will find instructions in this video. So let's get started. The game board is a map of some historical fantasy empire, and it has three regions: Cradle, Provinces and Hinterland. The Cradle region has two sides. Plains is already face up, the other one is face down. Provinces have three sides, mountain and two face down sides, and Hinterland also has three sides. Each side on the map may also contain additional cards, and those cards may represent various events, places or people at those sides, and they can also contain relics. Now, each player is represented by this big pawn, and essentially each player is a powerful character in the empire. One player plays the game as the chancellor of that empire, other players are exiles. Your player board represents your wealth. You will have some warbands traveling with you. You may have some secret tokens, those are secrets you know, and these coins, these favor tokens, represent the favor of the people of the empire. It's your influence in the empire you can spend. In addition to that, you will have some advisors who also travel together with you. In each game, Chancellor is bound by a certain oath. In the first game, for example, is to keep the supremacy, which means that the Chancellor promised to the people of the empire that he will have the warbands in most sides in the empire. Having the warband or warbands at the side means that that player controls and rules that side. That's why Chancellor starts the game as the Oathkeeper. However, all the exile players in the game are trying to prevent the Chancellor from reaching that goal. So in that first game, they will try to make him lose that supremacy, and they want to be the rulers of the sides. So basically, they want to have that supremacy. Now, in order to prevent that, the Chancellor may persuade some of the other players in the game to join him. So he may persuade some of the exile players to become the citizens of the empire and protect the empire, which means the citizens will help Chancellor to regain the supremacy. But in that case, the citizen must dethrone Chancellor in a peaceful way. So if the citizen player wants to win the game, they must become the successor of the Chancellor, and they must fulfill the goal which is at the bottom of this goal reference card. In this example, they have to have more relics than the Chancellor. The citizen player must still keep the oath together with the Chancellor, but he can show to the people of the empire that not only he can keep that oath in the same way as the Chancellor, but he can also have more relics, and so he is better than the Chancellor and he can become his successor. To counter that strategy, exiles have another way how to win the game. They can present a new vision to the people of the empire, and there are four visions that are a winning condition in the game. In this example, if this player holds the people's favor banner, that player would win the game. So if that player persuades the denizens of the empire that he will gain their favor and he will never lose that favor, he will win the game. The oath of the supremacy is no longer important to the people of the empire. They now have the new vision. They want to have the ruler who has their favor. To set your first game up, take this deck of cards marked as Packet A and flip over the top card and follow the instructions on the card. The game of Oath is played in rounds, and there are maximum 8 rounds in the game. And in each round, each player takes one turn, starting with the Chancellor and then continuing in a clockwise direction. On your turn, you will go through 3 phases. First one is the Wake phase. It's an administration and upkeep phase. The second phase is the Act phase, in which you will use your supply to take these major actions and some minor actions. Finally, the third phase is the Rest phase. Again, it's another administration and cleanup phase. During the Act phase, with this search action, you will add more cards to the game, and you will add the card either to the Empire or as one of your advisors. With the Muster action, you will recruit more warbands. With Trade, you will trade favor tokens for secrets and vice versa. These are the main resources in the game. With the Recover action, you can gain relics and banners. The Campaign action is basically the attack action. You can attack sites and take control of them, or you can attack other players, their relics, banners, and so on and so forth. And with the Travel action, you will travel to another site on the map. The game can end in 4 different ways. First, if the Chancellor keeps the oath, the game can end at the end of the round 5, 6, or 7, and the game will end at the end of the round 8. And the Chancellor can win the game only if he still keeps this Oathkeeper title. And if there's any citizen in the game, that citizen can only win the game when Chancellor has the Oathkeeper title, but the citizen fulfills the condition as the successor of the Chancellor. Exile player can only win the game if he takes the Oathkeeper title from the Chancellor and keeps it for another round. Then he becomes the Usurper, and if he keeps that Usurper title for another round, he wins the game at the start of his turn. And finally, the Exile player can win the game if they reveal the vision, and at the start of their turn, they fulfill the conditions on the vision. I'll talk about the details of these winning conditions later in the video. The first phase of your turn is always the Wake phase. In the first round of your very first game, there is nothing happening in this phase. You can skip it, I will get to it later in the video. But in general, you may need to pay some upkeep costs, or you may use the side power, something like this, if you have your pawn there. The second phase is the Act phase. In this phase, you may take any number of these major actions. You can take them in any order you want. You can even take the same action more than once. And if the action costs some supply, for each supply, move the supply marker 1 space to the right in the direction of these arrows. And I will start the explanation with the Search action. With a Search action, you will add a new card to the game, either to the Empire or as one of your advisors. You may draw 3 cards, either from the World deck or from the discard pile in the region where you have your pawn. You may not draw the cards from both decks. Then you need to pay the supply. If you draw the cards from the discard pile, you always need to pay 2 supply. So you would move the marker 2 space to the right. When you draw the cards from the World deck, you either have to pay 2 supply, 3 or 4 based on the position of this marker. That marker indicates how many vision cards have been drawn from the World deck. Now, when you draw the cards from the World deck, although you may draw 3 cards, draw them one by one, because if you draw the vision card, which is the card with this symbol, you immediately have to stop drawing the cards, announce to all players that you have drawn the vision card, and move this marker 1 space forward. When you draw the cards from the discard pile in your region, you may draw all of them at once. After drawing the card, secretly look at those cards and discard all of them but one. If you draw the vision card, you can even discard that vision card. You don't have to keep it. Usually you will only draw 3 cards, but some game effects may allow you to draw more or fewer cards. So again, keep just 1 card and discard all the other cards. Now, based on the position of your pawn, you will always discard the cards to the next region. So in this example, you would discard the cards to the discard pile in the provinces. If you have the pawns in the provinces, you always discard the cards to the hinterland discard pile, and if you have the pawn in the hinterland, you always discard the cards to the discard pile in the cradle region. Then you have 4 options what to do with the card you keep. First one is to place the card face up to the side where you have the pawn. That means playing the card to the same row as that side card. You can only do that if the total number of those cards next to the side doesn't exceed the limit of the side, which is this number. So this side may only have 3 cards next to it. Then look at the suit symbol of that card and immediately gain 1 favor from the suit bank of the same symbol. Place that favor token on your player board. The second option is to play that card face up as one of your advisors. With this option, you don't get any favor tokens from the favor bank. If you play the card face up and the card has this tree symbol, it must be placed to the side. If you play the card face up and card has this person symbol, it must be placed as one of your advisors. In addition, this chain symbol above that person symbol indicates that the card is locked, which means it cannot be discarded, it cannot be moved elsewhere unless explicitly stated by some game effect. The third option is to play the card face down to your advisors. When you play the card face down, it means you don't want to reveal that card now. When you do that, you may ignore those symbols on the card. They are not relevant when you play it face down. You may flip that card face up anytime later on your turn or on your subsequent turns, and when you do, this time you must obey those rules. So if you flip the card with this tree symbol, you must place it to the side. By the way, you may even play the vision card face down to your advisors. And the last option is to simply discard the card. Again, if you have the pawn here, you discard the card to the next region. Your advisors are always moving with your pawn, and only you can use their special abilities. You can have maximum 3 advisors, face up or face down. When you play the 4th advisor, you must discard one of your existing ones unless the advisor is locked. And in fact, this is the only option how to discard one of your face up advisors and replace it with a new card. There are 5 vision cards in the game with this back, 4 true visions, and one of them is a conspiracy. When you draw the vision card, you may either place it face down to your advisors or you can discard it. Anyway, it still counts as the vision drawn, so move the marker 1 space to the right. Only the exile players can play the true vision card face up on their player board. This is revealed vision, and this true vision doesn't count as the advisor. Any player can play the conspiracy vision card face up if that player fulfills the condition on the card. This conspiracy is not a winning condition, it just allows you to steal a banner or a relic from another player. The second action is the muster action, which is basically the recruit action. You can only do that at the site where you have your pawn, this is called your site, and you will have to spend your favor to influence the people at that site to join your warbands. So to do that, you have to spend 1 supply. You have to take one of your favor token and place it on any empty card at your site, and then you can take 2 warbands from your personal supply and add them to the warbands on your player board. So essentially you have recruited the warbands here, that's why you can only do it at your site. I will explain the citizenship later in the video, but for now, if your player color would be yellow, as the citizen you always recruit purple warbands. You can only place the favor tokens on empty cards at your side, so the cards with no favor tokens or secret tokens on it. That means you may not use the same card twice for recruiting or mustering, however, you can still use the action of that card if that action has no cost. The next action is the trade action. First you have to spend 1 supply and then you have 2 options. You can either share one of your secrets with the denizens at your site, and in return you will gain some favor, or vice versa, you can spend some favor, you can use your influence to learn some new secrets from the local denizens. So when you choose the first option, you have to take one of your secret tokens and again place it on an empty card at your side, then immediately gain one favor from the favor bank with the same suit as the suit symbol on the card where you place that secret. Place the favor token on your player board. Then if you have any face-up advisors with you with the same symbol as the symbol on that card, those people will like you even more because you have the same advisors from the same matching suit, and for each matching advisor of the same suit, you would gain one additional favor token. Again, from the same favor bank. So in our example, those would be 2 more favor tokens that will be placed on your player board. If you choose the second option, this time you have to take 2 favor tokens and place them on an empty card at your side, and now you can learn new secrets from those people there. However, those denizens there will only share secrets with you if you have the advisors of the same matching suit. Again, for each matching advisor, you will get 1 new secret. Place those secret tokens on your player board. So if in this situation you would place 2 favor tokens on this card with this symbol and you don't have any advisors of the same symbol, you would not learn any new secrets. With the recover action, you have 2 options. You can either recover the relic, which is at your side. In this example, we have the red player's turn, or you can recover any banner, even your own one. First, you have to pay 1 supply, and then if you want to recover the relic, the costs are indicated in the bottom right corner of the side card. In this example, red player has to burn 2 favor tokens. Burning the favor tokens means that the red player has to return 2 favor tokens to the general supply. Then you can take the relic and place it face up next to your player board. By the way, when you are at the side with the relic, you can always speak at that relic. As long as you hold the relic, you can use the power of those relics anytime on your turn. There are 2 banners in the game, the Darkest Secret and the Banner of the People's Favor, and they both add to some victory goals. I'll talk about the Banner of the People's Favor first. To recover the Banner of the People's Favor, you have to place more favor tokens on it than it has already. In this example, you have to place 4 or more favor tokens on it. Return all the old favor tokens to the favor banks. You can start with any favor bank, place 1 favor token there, and then continue to the next one, and then again from the start, always placing 1 favor token into each favor bank. Then, if the banner would be on this mob side, flip it back, place it somewhere next to your player board, and place all the favor tokens on the banner. Apart from adding to many victory goals, the banner also has an ability which you can use when you take the search action. The Banner of the People's Favor also has the upkeep costs which you have to pay during the wake phase, and I'm going to talk about it later in the video when I explain the wake phase again in more detail. The Banner of the Darkest Secret also adds to some victory goals, however learning this Darkest Secret is not so easy. You have to find at least 1 denizen card at the site where the current holder has their pawn, and that denizen must steal it from one of the advisors of the current holder. But that denizen will not do it if they're friends with the advisors of the current holders, so if their suits match. And so you have to find a denizen whose suit doesn't match the suit of any of those advisors. If there are no denizen cards at the current holder's site, then there's no one who can steal that secret. And if the current holder has no advisors, then there is no one to steal it from. In both situations, you may not recover the Darkest Secret from another player. If, however, the current holder has a face-down advisors only, those advisors are considered to have no suit, and so the suits of those cards don't match, and therefore, in this situation, you can recover the Darkest Secret from that player. To recover the banner, you have to place more secret tokens on it than it has already. So in this example, it must be minimum 4 secret tokens. Then take one of the old secret tokens from the banner and place it on your player board, and the remaining ones are returned back to the previous holder. Then take the banner with all the new tokens and place it somewhere next to your player board. Similar to the banner of the people's favor, the banner of the darkest secret also has some special ability when you take the search action. One last note, you can always recover the banner from yourself, not just the banner of the darkest secret, but also the banner of the people's favor. The reason to do it is to protect that banner from other players by placing more secrets or more favor tokens on the banner of the people's favor. There is absolutely no limit to the number of banners and relics you can have. With the move action, you can move your pawn to a different site, either in the same region or in any different regions. First, you have to choose the destination and then pay the supply. Travel costs are indicated in these black bars right below the name of the region. And for example, in the Cradle region, if you want to move to another site in the same region, so here, you have to pay 1 supply. If you want to move with your pawn to any site in the provinces region, you have to pay this middle value, so 2 supply. And if you want to move your pawn to any site in the hinterland region, you have to pay 4 supply. These travel costs are different in each region, and for example in hinterland, even if you move within the same region to a different site, you have to pay 3 supply. When you move to a site which is face down, flip it face up and resolve any effects in the top left corner. In this example, you have to add 1 relic to the site, and this site has a capacity of 2 denizen cards. With the campaign action, you can attack one opponent at your site, and you can attack their sites, you can attack their relics, banners, favor, their pawn, you choose. Both the attacker and the defender will build their dice pools. They will be able to use these battle plans, those are special cards only used during these campaigns, and then they will both roll their dice. If the attack value is greater than the defense value, the attacker wins the campaign. If not, the attacker and only the attacker can sacrifice some of their warbands to add more attack value and win. First, the attacker, in our example the yellow player, must choose one opponent from their side. It can be a player who has a pawn there, or the player who rules that side. If no one rules that side, the attacking player may still attack that side, which is considered to be ruled by the bandits. Remember, you can only choose one defender, so either someone who rules your side or someone who has a pawn there. After choosing the defender, let's say it's going to be the purple player, the Chancellor, choose any number of targets of that player. You can target any side they rule anywhere on the map, and only if the defender has the pawn at your side. You can also target their banners and relics, and you can target their pawn and favor. You may choose those targets independently, so you may try to steal their banners or relics without trying to banish the pawn itself. You must always choose at least one target from your side, and if you target your opponent's pawn and that player rules your side, you must also target that side. Thematically, even though you only want to steal the opponent's banners or relics, and you don't necessarily want to attack their warbands, those warbands will come to defend their leader. In the next step, both players will build their dice pools. The attacker gains number of dice equal to the number of warbands on their player board. So here it would be 8 dice. Then each target you choose has this blue defense dice symbol in the top right hand corner. So each side you declare as the target adds 1 blue die to the defense dice pool. So if the yellow player would also target this side, the Chancellor would get another blue die to the dice pool. The same applies to relics and banners. Each of them has a symbol in the top right corner. This book of records, if targeted, would add 2 blue dice to the dice pool. Banners always add as many blue dice to the dice pool as there are tokens on that banner. Then if the defender holds this Oathkeeper title, that adds 1 additional blue die to the dice pool. And only if the attacker would target the pawn itself, as indicated here, the defender would add 2 additional blue dice to the dice pool. Remember, you can target banners and relics independently from the pawn, So in case you only want to steal the relic and you don't want to banish that pawn, the defender would not add these 2 dice to the dice pool. Then both players may use the battle plans. Those are the cards with this crown icon with the campaign symbol inside. These are special cards only used during the campaigns. And both players may use any battle plans they rule. So either the battle plans in the advisors area or cards at any site ruled by that player. The attacker chooses the battle plans first. They can use any battle plans they rule with the red color or with this gradient color. The defending player can use any battle plans they rule with the blue color or again with the gradient. Remember, the site is ruled by the player who has the warbands there, so even though the yellow player has a pawn at this site, this battle plan can only be used by the purple player. Some battle plans also have the cost you need to pay to take that effect, and since these battle plans are special cards, they also break another rule: you can pay for those effects even though that card is not empty. Also, if applicable, don't forget to use the powers of sites targeted by the attacker. If the attacker would have to lose a die from their dice pool, but their dice pool is empty, add that many dice to the dice pool of the defending player. If you attack the bandits, they can also use any battle plans they rule, but only if the battle plan has no cost. So here, bandits would not be able to use this battle plan. However, even though the yellow player would only attack this site, bandits would be able to use this battle plan as well because they rule that battle plan. Now it's time to roll the dice. Defending player rolls first. Each shield you roll adds 1 to the defense value. So here the base value is 3. This symbol multiplies that value, so it is 6. And if you roll more than 1 multiplier, continue multiplying. So this would be 3 times 2 is 6, times 2 would be 12. But for our example, let's stay with 6. Then each warband on the targeted sites also adds 1 to the defense value. If the attacker would target these 2 sites, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4 additional defense value. If you target the site with the opponent's pawn, or if the opponent's pawn is directly at your site, the defender also adds the warbands on their player board to the defense value. So in total, the Chancellor had the base value 6 from the dice, and then additional 1, 3 and 2 from their warbands. So the total defense value is 12. Now the attacker rolls the dice. Each sword, 1 full sword, adds 1 to the attack value. Each pair of hollow swords also add 1 to the attack value. If there's only 1 hollow sword, that adds 0. And each skull symbol means that the attacking player must kill 1 of their warbands and place them in their personal reserve. So here the attacking value is 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Now, only the attacking player may continue killing their warbands, and for each warband they kill from their player board, they add 1 more to the attack value. So with the base value of 9 from the dice, and with 4 additional warbands killed, the attacker gains the total attack value of 13. Only if the attack value is greater than the defense value, the attacker wins the campaign. In case of a tie, the defender wins. If you attack bandits, each bandit token counts as 1 warband, so their total defense value equals the number of bandit tokens on all sides you have targeted, plus the total value from the dice. Then the defeated player kills half of the warbands that added to the defense. That includes warbands from the attacked sides, and it may also include warbands from their player board. In our example, it was these 6 warbands, so 3 warbands must be killed, and the remaining warbands are moved back to the player board. If the attacker loses the battle, they have to kill half of the warbands from their player board. Then, if the attacker wins the battle, they may place warbands from their player board to the newly conquered sites, and if you decide to leave some of those sites empty, those sites will be ruled by bandits. Then, if you have targeted any relics, take those relics, and if you targeted any banners, you may take those banners as well. However, you will have to burn some of the tokens on those banners. Then, if you targeted the pawn itself, you may now move it to any site on the map for no supply cost, and that player must burn half of their favor tokens rounded down. If the exile player becomes the citizen, here we have the blue player who became the citizen, Then, if any player attacks that citizen, the Chancellor always joins the battle as an ally. If any other citizen, let's say here we have the red player, has the pawn at the attacker's side or at any side that is targeted by the attacker, that citizen player may also join as an ally. All the allies can use any battle plans they rule, and they may add their warbands from their player board. If the attacker wins and the citizen is defeated, then the Chancellor decides which warbands are killed and which survive. All those surviving warbands are then moved to the Chancellor's player board. In addition to the major actions, anytime on your turn you can also use minor action. They don't cost any supply. Those minor actions are listed over here, but in a nutshell, if you have a face down advisor, you can place that card face up using the standard rules, or if you wish so, you can even discard that card. You may use the powers on the cards at sites you rule, even if you don't have your pawn there. If you have any denizen cards or relics with this action keyword, you can use those actions, although sometimes you may need to pay some costs. And don't forget that if there are any secret tokens or favor tokens on those cards, you may not use them again. You may always peek at the relics at your site. If you have this Grand Scepter, you can peek at any relic in this Imperial Reliquary. And you can always add any number of warbands from your player board to your site if you rule that site. And if you wish so, you can remove any number of warbands from your site except the last one, and return those removed warbands back to your player board. You may never place warbands on sites with no warbands, because those are ruled by bandits. You would have to move there first, perform the campaign action and target that site and conquer that site. If you hold this Grand Scepter, you may offer citizenship to any exile player. You must offer to give them one relic from this reliquary, and you may let them peek at those relics. And you may negotiate any binding exchange of secret tokens or favor tokens, banners, relics, and so on. If the exile player accepts the citizenship, then they must flip their player board, replace the warbands with the purple warbands, discard any revealed vision if there was any, flip the Oathkeeper title if the exile player would have it, and that player would immediately end their turn. Then, as these icons indicate, the supply marker copies the position of the supply marker on the Chancellor's board. Take the relics from the reliquary that you have negotiated before, and the Chancellor gains this power from the revealed space from the Imperial Reliquary. Both the Chancellor and the Citizen rule the sites together with the purple warbands, and if the Citizen would like to move the purple warbands from anywhere, it always requires the permission of the Chancellor. The Citizen player can still attack the Chancellor, but in that case they would not be allies and the Citizen player would not be considered to be the Imperial player. If you hold the Grand Scepter relic, you can also do the opposite. You can exile the Citizen. In order to do that, you must give them 5 favor tokens, plus 1 favor token if they have the Oathkeeper title, and plus 1 if they have the banner of the people's favor. On the other hand, if you have the Oathkeeper title, it's 1 favor token less, and if you have the banner of the people's favor, it's another favor token less. So exiling a citizen costs from 3 to 7 favor tokens. Then the exiled player flips their player board, the supply marker is placed in the leftmost space, and all the warbands are replaced with the warbands of that player's color. There may be situations when you as the citizen would like to exile yourself, and you can do that if you don't hold the Grand Scepter relic. To do that, you will have to pay some favor to the holder of that Grand Scepter, and that number is equal to the number of the warbands on your player board, plus number of secrets on your player board, and the number of secret tokens anywhere on the map. So here, that was 2 additional favor tokens. After paying these favor tokens to the holder of the Grand Scepter, exile yourself and end your act phase immediately. This Oathkeeper title is always held by the player who meets the current Oathkeeper goal. At the start of the game it's usually the Chancellor, and there are 4 Oathkeeper goals. First one, the Oathkeeper of Supremacy, is awarded to a player who rules the most sites. The Oathkeeper of Protection is awarded to the player who holds the most relics and banners. The Oathkeeper of the Devotion is the player who holds the Darkest Secret banner, and the Oathkeeper of the People is the player who holds the People's Favor banner. Remember, there is always only one of those Oathkeeper goals in the game. If you take the Oathkeeper title from any player, flip it to the Oathkeeper side, and if the Exile player has the Oathkeeper title at the start of their turn, they flip it to the Usurper side. Then, if that player holds the title at the start of their next turn, they win the game. When you're done playing all your major and minor actions, the Act phase is over and proceed to the Rest phase. Rest phase is another administration cleanup phase. First, return any favor tokens from the Denizen and Edifices cards to their matching favor banks. However, the secrets are returned back to your player board. If you would have any secret tokens on your player board face down, flip them face up. Then refresh your supply based on the number of warbands in your personal supply. In this situation, the Chancellor has 9 warbands here, so the supply marker would go to this space. However, this one unspent supply will be added, so the supply marker will be moved to this space. It may never move beyond this leftmost space. Then if you have any abilities which start with this rest keyword, you can use them now, and with that your turn is over. Now that we covered most of the game, let me explain the wake phase again in more detail. If you have any abilities which starts with this wake keyword, you activate them now. And if you hold the banner of the People's Favor, it has one of those abilities. When you resolve that ability, you must either place one of your favor tokens on that banner, or take one of the favor tokens from the banner and place it on the favor bank with the least favor. If they're tied, you can choose anyone you want. If the banner would only have one favor token, then you must add a favor token to that banner. Then, if the banner would contain 6 favor tokens, flip it to this mob side, which means you would have to resolve this wake power twice at the start of each of your turns. Then, if you are an Exile player and you have the Oathkeeper title, at the start of the wake phase, flip the title to this Usurper side. Then at the start of your next turn, if you still have that Usurper title, at the start of the wake phase, you win the game. Similarly, if the Exile player has a revealed vision and meets the condition on that vision, at the start of the wake phase, that player wins the game. And don't forget that some of the sides have these powers which are activated also at the start of the wake phase. The game can end in 4 different ways. First, the Exile player can win the game if they have this Usurper title at the start of the wake phase. Second, the Exile player can win the game if they have any revealed vision, they meet the conditions on that vision card, they win the game at the start of the wake phase. Then, if the Chancellor or the Citizen have the Oathkeeper title, the game can end at the end of the 5th, 6th or 7th round. Roll this purple die at the end of those rounds, and if you would roll 6 at the end of the 5th round, 5 or 6 at the end of the 6th round, and 3, 4, 5, 6 at the end of the 7th round, the game would end. If not, simply proceed to the next round. If the game ends and the Chancellor has the Oathkeeper title, Chancellor wins the game. This is called the stable regime win, because the Chancellor has to keep the Oathkeeper title for a minimum of 5 rounds. However, if the Chancellor would win, because he has the Oathkeeper title, but there is a Citizen who fulfills this successor goal, then this Citizen player is the winner. In this example, this Citizen would have to hold this Grand Scepter relic. And finally, the so-called War Exhaustion win takes place at the end of the 8th round. Basically, the game will always end at the end of the 8th round. And now check for the victory in this exact order. First, If the Chancellor has the Oathkeeper title, the Chancellor wins the game unless there is a citizen who meets the successor goal. In that case, the citizen wins the game. Second, if any exiled player has the Usurper title, that player wins the game. If not, if any exiled player has the vision, revealed vision, and fulfills the condition of that vision, he wins the game. And fourth, if the exiled player has the Oathkeeper title but not the Usurper title, or if that player has a revealed vision but doesn't meet the condition on that vision, then again it's the Chancellor's victory or the citizen's victory if that citizen meets the successor goal. After the end of the game, don't start cleaning up the game yet. You're about to write the Chronicle first. Take this deck of cards marked as archive, flip the card and follow the instruction on the card. Then take this Chronicle summary and follow the steps in this summary. First, the winning player must choose the new oath for the next game. If the winning player was the exiled player with the vision, then the new Oathkeeper goal tile must match that vision. In this example, the Vision of Faith says that you can win the game if you hold the Darkest Secret. That means the goal for the next game will be to hold the Darkest Secret, which is the Oathkeeper of Devotion. Take that oath tile and put it into this world box. If you win the game in any other way, you can choose any goal tile except the one which was used in the current game. Then, if the winning player was the exile player, flip all the citizens to their exile sides, and then the winning player may offer the other exiles, but not the ones that were just flipped from the citizens, to turn into citizens for the next game. And if any player accepts that, at every site on the map they replace all their warbands with one warband of the winning player. Why is this happening? Well, thematically, the winning player should become the Chancellor for the next game, which means that player offers the citizenship to possible allies in the next game. However, you don't have to play it this way, you don't have to make the winning player the Chancellor. How you develop your world is only up to you. Then only if the winning player was the current Chancellor or the current citizen, that player may build or repair one edifice on the map. This can only be done at a site that player rules. Choose a card at a site, then replace that card with the edifice card of the same suit, and return the replaced card back to the world deck. Instead of building, you can repair one edifice card by flipping it from the ruined side to the intact side. Each site may only contain one edifice card, whether intact or ruined. In the next step, we're going to clean up the map. At first, exclude all the sites with the warbands of the winning player. In our example, it was the red player, and also all the sites with intact edifices. At all other sites, discard all the site cards, denizen cards, and relic cards to their respective decks, and return the ruined edifices to the archive. Then all edifices at sites not ruled by the winning player are flipped to their ruined side. In addition, discard all the denizen cards from that site. Only now you can return all the pawns and warbands and favor tokens and secret tokens back into the box. Now, set aside any sites which have these ruined edifices. Now, slide all these other sites without ruins towards the cradle region, filling from top to bottom these empty site spaces. So the mountain would be the first site, along with all the denizen cards. Next is this waste site, so that would slide over here to the bottom space of the cradle region. And then this great slum site would slide to the first space in the provinces region. Then start filling the empty slots in the hinterland region with the sites with the ruins. In our example, we only have one site, so it fills up the bottom space at the hinterland region. Now shuffle the deck with all the remaining sites and randomly place one site face down in each empty space. If there was now any region with no face up site, flip the top side of that region face up. Then look at the winner's advisors and find the most common suit. In this example, it's this order suit. If there was a tie, the winning player chooses. Randomly choose 3 cards from the same suit from the archive and add those 3 cards to the world deck. Then starting with that suit, move to the next suit and add 2 cards from that suit to the world deck, and then 1 card from the following suit, again to the world deck. Then take all the advisors from all the losing players and mix them with all the discard piles from all regions. But make sure you set aside all the vision cards and make sure you don't mix in the world deck. And shuffle this deck of cards, randomly choose 6 of them, and without looking at them, place them in this dispossessed section in the archive. Then take all the relics from all the losing players and shuffle them together with the relics in the relic deck, and then refill all the sides that have fewer relics than they should have based on the icons in the top left hand corner. Then take all the relics from the Imperial Reliquary and all the relics from the winning player, shuffle them and place them on top of the relic deck. Then it's finally time to return the world to the world box. Starting with this side and continuing in this order up to the first side in the Cradle region, stack any cards at that side on top of that card, and stack all other sides with their cards on top of it. Then take the world and place it in the world box. Then take all the remaining denizen cards from the world deck and from the cards you have set aside previously, and rebuild the world deck as indicated over here. First, shuffle all the cards in the deck, and shuffle all 5 vision cards as well. Now, as indicated here, take 10 denizen cards and shuffle them together with 2 random vision cards. That's the first group of cards. Now take 15 denizen cards and shuffle them with the 3 remaining vision cards. That's the second group of cards. Take that second group of cards and place them on top of all the remaining cards, and take this first group of cards and place them on top. With that you have rebuilt the world deck for the next game. You can place the deck in this world deck section in the archive, and we're almost finished. Take all the player boards and put them into the box with the correct side up, or simply use the Chronicle book and make notes of the current status. When setting up any future games, there are small differences. The Chancellor places 2 warbands in the topmost side in the Cradle region, and then 1 warband at each side which has at least 1 denizen or 1 intact edifice card. Then take the world deck from the archive and place it over here, and then draw 3 cards from the bottom of the deck, not from the top, from the bottom of the deck, and place 1 card in each of the discard piles. Then each player in the player order again draws 3 cards from the bottom of the deck, and only after you see those 3 cards you may take your pawn and place it on any face-up side on the map. The Chancellor must always start at the stop side in the Cradle region. Once all players chose their starting sides, they choose 1 card as the advisor and discard the remaining 2 cards, following the standard discarding rules, so if these are the cards from the red player, those would be discarded to the next region. Based on the Oathkeeper goal, the Chancellor may start the game with the Banner of the People's Favor or the Banner of the Darkest Secret. So that's how you play Oath, Chronicles of the Empire. If you would have any questions or comments, I'll do my best to answer as many as I can. If you like the series, please subscribe. You can even support the channel on the Patreon page. You've been watching Game in a Nutshell. My name is Branislav Berec and hope to see you next time.